We are back. Hi, Guillermo.
Hey guys, welcome back.
I think this is gonna be a quick one. Maybe not so quick.
All
Let's
right,
see.
what are we learning today then?
So, I wanted to show you some ways we can apply noise to our surface. This is very useful when you want to create rocks or any organic object that needs like noise. Similar to ZBrush. Like if you're familiar with ZBrush, like I know you are, there are
hmm
you have like a noise option to put a lot of detail in your mesh with just one click, and you have like many options. So here in Houdini we kind of do the same with like in ZBrush where we can just apply noise, but we will see it's a little bit different, but we have control over it. So let's get started.
Yeah.
First, like always, I'm gonna create a geometry node. So by this point you're already familiar with the process, I guess. So
Or do you think it's convenient to create a rock like the last time to just export a rock, or is it better to show the example just a sphere or whatever?
let's just put this out, the example first. I think we
Okay.
can create the rock later.
All right. Let's go for it.
So uh, let's create a plane. I will type grid, then click, and I have my grid here. And
hmm
I want to apply some noise to this brick. So what I'm gonna do is increase the number of subdivisions. Okay, and you know what? Let's decrease this 10 by 10, and I'll show you another node called subdivide. So if we connect those, we can see that it subdivides the surface.
hmm
So, so it's kind of useful to keep consistency and have a clean object where you can just push the main forms. Like if I just want to edit this, let's just say I will shift click those points and then click the move here, move with T, and then do something like this. Then with this one, I have something
Right.
like this.
One question. I see that that subdivide node has two connections, so you can mix two. You can apply the effect to two different nodes, or does it do something else?
So I really don't know because I have never used it, the second one. But
hmm
if you check here, each node has a number of inputs. Like for this one doesn't have. This one has two. This one has two. So if you want to know what the second input does, if you hover the mouse here, you will see that, well, this is not very descriptive. It just says input one, so they didn't put a name. But if you check here,
Yeah.
it says creases.
hmm
So basically, it's what I can imagine is that it's a group of creases.
All right.
Uh, yeah, that's what I can imagine,
Let's move on then.
but I really don't know.
hmm
So, but if you want to know what the second input is, or the third one, or whatever, just hover the mouse and it will tell you what it's looking for. And it's kind of useful, like if you're like copy, let's say copy and transform. Well, not this one, definitely. Copy 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you click here is like require geometry to copy, and then target points to copy to.
That's very useful.
Yeah,
Nice.
so some nodes, especially these ones which are very popular, will have proper descriptions. And we can create our own nodes. We will see that later,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can put the description ourselves, so that we can remember what are the inputs. But when we create one, by default, it will say just input 1, input 2, right? So this one
Yes,
says
yes.
subdivision net, and this one says creases. So I guess this is the mesh.
All right, all right.
Okay, so um, let me delete this, or better way. So you notice that I changed something here, but I have an edit mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually change this, so it's completely non-destructive,
Hmm.
right?
Okay,
And
that's very useful too.
and if I
Nice.
really don't want to use this node, if you hover here and you click the yellow one, you can bypass this node,
Bye.
so you don't use it anymore.
You can bypass every node, right?
Every node, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I love Houdini is, because when I work with Max, I
Mm-hmm.
was always afraid of messing up, like moving the vertex I didn't want to move, or don't not having enough undos to redo some stuff, or
Right.
having a lot of backups, like in case something goes wrong, trying something new, but if that doesn't work, I need to go back and redo it. This is what I love Houdini. Like everything you do, it can be safe here. So you really don't need to do any backup. You can do tests
Yeah,
here.
I remember making countless material instances in Unreal because of the same thing, being afraid to fuck it up.
Yeah,
That's very nice. I appreciate that feature.
yeah. This is like the number one feature I love about Houdini. So
Mm.
let's just delete it for now. Or better, let's just bypass it. Just don't get distracted by this one. So what I want to do is
Mhm.
to apply some noise here. And I have some ways to do that. So let's check the ways you can apply noise. There is no right or wrong. There are just different methods. So the first one is the mountain. And if you have checked any Houdini tutorial on the internet, you will see that this one is very popular. So if you connect
Mhm.
this one here, you already can see some noise, right?
Yeah.
So you can just play with the parameters here. You can change the height, you can change the element size, right?
Mhm, mhm.
The scale. And this is great for terrains or any organic surface really. So if you
I
change the
see.
height here, you see that it's very pointy, right? It's not very
Mhm.
smooth.
Yeah.
So what you have here, so you have these two features, and you have this roughness. So if you increase this one, of course it's more pointy because the surface is rough. Or if you decrease one, this
Mhm.
one is super smooth. So you can really have a layer of, let's say, bigger shapes. Let's exaggerate this for a bit. Like these are my uh, bigger forms. Let's just decrease
Mhm.
the roughness, element size, like maybe something like this, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like your bigger forms. And then you can have
Right.
another one with a smaller noise. You can
All right. Yeah.
change like you can maintain your main forms, your main shapes. You can increase the roughness of this one. So you can really have control over anything. The funny thing is
Hmm.
that if you really play with this and you have like edit this mode, you can do something like this. And you can really
Hmm.
have fun with this.
It's
Very,
nice how the second mountain node respects the shape that the first mountain node gave the geometry.
yeah, right. It's super
It's nice.
nice.
Hmm.
Like this is a very nice workflow. Like always to have the main shapes. You can apply some noises, and then you can just uh, just like layers. Just keep adding
Hmm.
detail, just like you will do manually, but you do it here. And if you don't like something, you can just go back to your main shapes. Let's check this one here, and oh, not subdivide. We can just change the scale, right?
Yeah.
Change the height.
Hmm.
Check this one. So this is great. And you are if you like your shapes, you can go to your subdivide node. You can see that you have max 3 subdivisions.
Hmm. Yes.
Let me see if I don't want to see that grid here. I guess I have no choice.
Yeah.
There must be some feature I don't know. But I show you one thing. You see this pin here?
Hmm.
That means that you can find this tab here, and if you click anywhere, it won't leave.
Oh, all right.
So
Right. That's. Mhm.
well, sometimes it's useful when you want to test stuff. So what we can do
Yeah.
is change the subdivisions. Not all nodes like have like the numbers you want, but do not worry. Like if you change this number, let's say 4, it will work, or even 5.
Hmm.
So let me uncheck this.
One question: where do you see the polygon count?
Okay, good question. So normally you will see it here, but you don't see it because I don't have it activated. How you activate it
Hmm.
is you click D with the keyboard, and these are the display options, and you can do many things
Hmm.
here. So one way is to go to guides here, and then
Hmm.
geometry information, you can click always on, and you can see we have below 82k primitive,
Hmm.
83,000 points.
Right.
So this is one way to do it. And
Mhm.
if it's hard to see, you can click the background. You can change this to dark. I don't know if it's nicer
All
to
right.
check the interface this way.
Yeah.
You can check
It
gray.
way easier.
So let's just
Mhm.
stick to dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So let me go back to something like 3. Okay. Okay. So let me go to this node here. Actually, this one. So we have our noise here. Let me subdivide a little bit more. Okay. And you can see here we have different types of noises, right?
Right.
So maybe it's better to create a new mountain node to make it more clear. So change the element size. The bigger it is, like the smaller the noise. Change the
Mhm.
height. And you can animate this. So
All
it's
right.
very good for fluids,
Mm-hmm.
water, this kind of stuff. You want to simulate some things. So
I
noises are
see.
very powerful. So you have here different types of noises. So just play with it. I will show you some. Like one of the noises I like most, I think it's this one. So it's very unique, you know. It changes completely the look of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you change the element size, you can clearly see that the noise is very different, very different, and you can
Can
play
you
with the roughness.
can you animate that like you did before?
You should, and the way you do it is like you press $F, and now this value here is the value of the timeline. So if
Mm-hmm.
you click here, you will see that I have two options. This one is green because this is a parameter. This is not a static number. So if I click here, you can see my code. Normally dollar is for things that are native in Houdini. And
Okay.
like accessing to points like we saw before, $PT,
Mm-hmm.
check the number of points, um, the point number, things like that. This one is very useful to animate. So if I click here, whoa, that's too fast. So yeah, it will animate. It will change. So if I want to get rid of this, use Control, left click, and yeah, we're done. And I think the reason is because it's just the number is too high. So maybe if I click $F and then multiply by 0.01, and if I click here, then
Ah,
you
smooth.
can see it very, yeah. And I can have this noise here applied,
It's like magic.
yeah. And I can edit this, right? If I check this one super high, like it's super fun. Like you
Mhm.
really you really can experiment with a lot of things. You can change the height, and if you're like happy with it, just maybe subdivide by 6. This is gonna go wrong.
Ooh. Yeah, that's gonna
Just
crash.
put 4. Yeah, not very good idea to subdivide with animation, I guess. But it's really cool,
Yeah.
and you just need to change the way you use. It's very similar to Substance. You divide your approach into different sections, and let's say in Substance you divide it. Let's create a pattern first. If it's a brick, what kind of brick pattern I want? If it's a floor, what kind of pattern we have? So
Mhm.
even if I apply some noise, I apply some main forms, I apply some smaller noise, and then I add detail, detail, detail. But those are separated layers. So if I want to change like the pattern, I change the pattern, and then everything updates, right? So
Mhm.
that's the way you want to work with Houdini. You want to divide your approach, think about different sections so you can modify them independently, so you have
Mhm.
control over the end result. You have control over your main shapes, you have control over your smaller noise, you have control over your big noise.
I see.
So okay, Okay, so this is one thing. Let's just delete the animation for now, and the way I will do it is Control left click, and that will remove the parameter here. So let me uncheck this, go back here. So this is another noise, and you can really like play with these parameters. And then this one is super fun.
Yeah.
You can really create some interesting surface, not just like organic, but some kind of sci-fi patterns if you really want to make it this way, right?
Yeah.
Depends on what you wanna do. Like different algorithms will give you different results. And like we saw before, you can always go back here and check how it looks. Okay, so that's the mountain node.
All right. What other kinds of noises do we have then?
So I think we have here. So we have attribute randomize, blur. Okay, so we have not this one. Actually, I never tried this before, but this is like attribute blur. Okay, so what this will do is checks the attribute P, which stands for the point position, and it will blur it. So if I connect this one, this should be smoother. Yeah, you see? Sharp, smooth, and it blurs. You can change the blur size. Right? You
It's
can,
a turbo smooth.
yeah, kind of like that,
Okay,
but
cool.
it's not really a smooth. It's just like blur, right? That's pretty cool. So just like these attributes, we can do a lot of things with attributes. We can type an attribute here, and we will see a lot of things. So what I will create is an attribute noise. Okay. So what I will do here is, let me delete this for now. So I have my mountain here. I have my attribute noise. So by default, it checks the color value. So it gives you some noises. And we don't want that. We want to change the position value. So we put P. And of course, this will give you different results. You have same kind of noises we had before, but it will just give you different results. So you can change the amplitude, and you see that the mesh is displacing, like it's really going away. If I change the amplitude here, it's really offsetting. So you just click off center noise, and this will solve the issue.
It's getting out of control.
Yeah. So you can change the amplitude. You can change the element size, just like before. You can make it bigger. We can then change the amplitude for a bigger number. You can change the element scale. So you can really have different results. You can change the offset. You could actually animate this if you want. You can change the type of noise. Same thing, roughness. This thing,
Mm.
I don't know what the hell that is, but it looks like it adds more small detail noise, right? So
Mhm.
you can just play with this, and you have like distribution here. Let me see how you can change this one. You should be able to change the distribution. If I check how, I'll check later. But this is just another way to add noise, and you can do it the same.
Mhm.
You can change the amplitude, like let's say your main forms, and then you can put another noise here to put some smaller details. Just change for P here, click center noise, then element size, maybe super small, element scale, then you can change the scale here. Oh, make it bigger, change the amplitude. So it's just about play. Just play with it. Okay?
Mhm.
So there is no right or
Yeah.
wrong. You can use whatever you need. So there is a third method, which is my favorite because you can do a lot of stuff. You can do a lot of operations here. So we just type attribute BOP. So what this is kind of like nothing happens when we put this. But remember we have the attribute wrangle, and you put some code here. You can actually put noise here, like if you write a code. And I really don't like this one because I suck at coding, right?
Mhm.
And most of the time, I I don't know if it happened to you, but you want to find some solutions in Houdini, and you know that Houdini community is very diversified. It's not like only art like ZBrush or something like that, right? So you have a lot of
Mhm.
programmers in the community, and programmers love to solve problems. And sometimes you will find like the super complex solution, and you will try to do some things, and then it's like, it's very easy. You just type this code, and they give you like 10 lines of codes you don't even understand what it does. And
Right.
I think that's the thing that scares the artist most. Like, okay, let's start Houdini, then they encounter a problem, they look for the solution, and what they find is, okay, just type this code. So, so,
Yeah.
so that's very discouraging. From
Even worse if you actually want to learn, right?
Yeah, you want to
If you
learn, and
actually want
then
to.
okay, fuck this. I'm not learning to code. I definitely Houdini is not for me. But there are
Yeah.
other ways. I mean, for sure, code is very powerful, and if you know how to use it, that's great. Sometimes we find code we don't even understand what it does, and we can just use it because it works. That's great too. So
Hmm.
to avoid this one, we will use this one, which it's like writing code but for nodes, and this looks much better. So if I double click this, I will find some interface which much more appealing that, you know, writing lines of code. So what this has, this is the input. This is your geometry, and it has a lot of attributes here. It has like the point, you have forces, a lot of things like for animation. You have like UVs, your color, your normals. Uh, you have many many different stuff you can access here. So in code, what you see here is like, just type $P or whatever. So if you want to know
Mm-hmm.
which one are available, these are the ones who are available.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there should be more, but these are the most important, I guess. Like the normals, the position of the points. So what you can do here is actually create the noises, and you will have more control over it. So if you tap here, you type noise, you have different kind of noises. Some of them are more suited for particles, VFX.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are for, just surface detail, like we are making here. So you have this anti-aliased noise, we have unified noise, overlay noise, and some of them have like huge
Mm-hmm.
parameters. So let's check one of these. So if I click anti-alias noise, you will have the noise here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the green ones are vectors, like 3 positions, X, Y, and Z. But if you see the output here, it's only 2 dimensions. And that's the reason is we are putting like 1D noise here, right? If you want to put
Mm-hmm.
3D noise, then the noise will change. Now we are applying noise into three directions. So here you have the inputs, and the inputs are nothing more than these parameters here. So these parameters, you can change the position of it, and it will change the final result.
Mm-hmm.
But you can actually connect the inputs here. So if you want to put the position, make the noise for this position, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
then you want to change the amplitude and a lot of things. And you see that we don't see any change here, and the reason is we haven't connected this to the P node. And this is the output node. And if you want to make any changes for these ones, you need to connect those to the output so you can see the changes. So if I click
Mm-hmm.
here, you will see that it's like broken, and the reason is I 1D noise. I will click 3D noise, and you can see it like I have my noise here. Like not very appealing. Maybe if you want to do a scene with some trash cans and paper, then this will work for you. But what we'll do here is create a displacement, and I have this displace along normal. So what this does, and I change this one here, I delete the input so we have our grid. Then from here, we will connect the point position here, and then we will put the amount here. So you see the displacement amount you can see here. So
Mm-hmm.
if I click here, nothing will happen, but if I displace the surface, it will display along the normal, which is the Y position. The
Right.
normals are pointing up because there is no change in the surface. So what I want to do is go back to this one, and I put the amount here.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have more
Okay.
control because I can actually change the amount of the displacement. I have some things here that I don't know what the hell they do, but I can change this one individually. I can change the
Mm-hmm.
displacement intensity, and I can actually play with the noise now. If I change the offset, or I change the amplitude, I change the roughness,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the same type of noises like we had before. But we don't see all the
Yeah.
options because this type of noise only have like this. So what we can
Mhm.
do is to play with other options. We have like worldwide noise. So if we check this one, we put here 3D noise. So we change our inputs to three dimensions, X, Y, and Z. We put this one here, and let's say we just connect this one here. Now we have different type of noise,
Mhm.
and you can change the type of worldwide noise. Same before as before. You have another noise. It's like the Voronoi noise.
Mhm.
Let's change this to 3D vector again. Let's change the position here. Then we can just put it here. Then click the distance in the amount. So now we have another type of noise. So it's just a matter of playing with it.
So to make things clear, why is this method different from just adding a noise node and modifying it there? This gives you more control, right, on what you want to do with the noise, on where you want to spawn it.
I feel
Or am I
there
missing
they are
something?
just different methods. And especially if you want to have more control over your geometry, like if you're modeling something, then you may want to use this. And the reason
Mhm.
is, whoa, the reason is you can actually create parameters, just like materials in Unreal. You can create parameters. You
Mhm.
can expose these parameters. Let's say I want to put the noise here, right? And I want to expose this
Mhm.
parameter. So what I will do is to click here and click promote parameter.
All right.
Okay, and now this one is a parameter. Like if I click here, you can see that I have a parameter called freq, labeled frequency, and it's a
Mhm.
vector with 3 floats. And when I go back here, if I check this one here, I can see my frequency here. So you
Mhm.
can create like your own custom noises and you can save them, like very customizable.
Right. At
And
first, when I saw that first window that you created, I I was kind of demotivated, but it is easier than it looks. It is pretty logical too.
yeah, it's like playing with materials in Unreal or using Substance.
Hmm.
And if you're familiar with materials, you can actually do some things like multiply by
Hmm.
a constant. Let's say we want to control the intensity of our noise. So what we will do is to put the multiply here, and you see that by default is 1, and we can decrease the intensity. If we multiply this by 0, now we don't have any noise. If we multiply by 1, we have what we had before. And you can actually put multiply and not don't put a constant. If you want to put a parameter here, you can actually create a parameter just like this one. This one was automatically created because Houdini give you the option to promote these parameters, so you don't have to create them. But if you want to
Hmm.
create a parameter, let's just call it intensity, and let's label this intensity. You can change this parameter name if you want, but it won't have any effect on the output. It's just for organization. And then you can just click this one, and let's say this is a float, and by default is 0. But if I change this one, then the default is 1. I just need to connect this one to the noise. So if I change the parameter, this is our default value. We can change the intensity of our displacement. So now we can change the frequency. And now we can change the intensity. So there's really no right or wrong to do things here. I'm just showing you three different methods. And again, play with it. You have a lot of noise. This one is like the noise of noises. You will see here that unified noise static is like holy shit.
It does everything.
Yeah, and it has like all the options we saw before. Same thing, you connect your position here and you can change your parameters. You can expose the parameters you want. It does the same thing. So, and it gives you a noise. So really, you can have a lot of control here. And this is like writing code, but in a more artist-friendly way.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot of things here with more complex operations where you can have control over many things like UVs, a lot of stuff here. And you can see this thing as you're kind of modeling with nodes,
Hmm.
and you can do many things here, like you have limitless options. This is very extensive topic, so I
Yeah.
guess we will need like another class for this one, but for now we are just focusing on noises. So
Hmm.
these are the noises in a nutshell. So we can do a lot of things here, and we can of course choose a box. Let's say you want to create a rock. Let's play with it. Let's just change the size of it, something like this. And if I click, like, I will tap and type jitter, this will give me some noises here to have some things that are irregular. Can change the seed if I don't like it. Can change the scale, right? So if I can put it here. And I have this one. If you change the subdivision, one of those should not smooth maybe. Yeah, this one is like no, not smooth at all. So depends on what you want. If you want more subdivisions, we can change like the polygon mesh. We are actually changing the point jitter. We actually have more points, so you can use something like this. And then when we subdivide, maybe we put like, I don't know, 6. This looks like a good number. Then we can put our mountain node here. Nothing could happen. Maybe because of the scale of this.
Wow.
Yeah, this looks awful. But you can really play with everything. Say you want to put a sphere here, polygon mesh. Again, maybe change the size, make it bigger. Change the subdivisions here. Put this one to 3. Then we can check our noises individually, so we can maybe change the element size. We can then change this one. I have like super detailed noises here. And right now I don't have many polygons, but if I click here and I type like 4, you can see that you can really get into a lot of detail here. And you can see that things are overlapping a little bit. So maybe a good time to put an attribute blur. So you can blur, smooth the surface a little bit if you want. You can change the radius of it. Like you can put like computer is not gonna hold maybe like this one. You can edit. Like you have really control about everything. This thing is horrible. Or maybe you want to use this kind of noise, and you have things like asteroids or I don't know. You can change the roughness if you want more rough surface. You can change this one. You can have something like this, or you can use this one, which you can change the intensity or the frequency. Like less frequency detail, more smooth. You have like organic object here. Yeah, these are different types of noises. And if you're happy with it, you can increase the subdivisions if you want more detail. If not, we can just play with less subdivisions. Yeah, that's it for the noises.
Well, everything's clear and a little easier than I thought. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah, we can use this for very different topics. So now you can see, now you can have an idea of how you can create a rock here or something organic. Or maybe you want to create sand, you want to create a terrain or something. Houdini has a lot of tools for terrain now, especially the newer versions, so that will be like a different topic. But if you want to model something, you can use like this kind of stuff, like super useful. It's not non-destructive, you can change like the size of it, whatever. So these are the three ways to make noises. We can create a mountain, we can use the attribute noise, we can use the attribute BOP. Those are the three I know. I'm not sure if there is more, but again, there is no right or wrong here. Just play with it, check what you like, whatever you're making. If you can get the same result with these ones, like whatever works for you, really. Okay, any question before?
Nothing. Everything's pretty clear. Of course, that I still need to work more on the attribute BOP, as it is quite complex, but everything's clear.
It is, it is. And to be honest, I'm not an expert on it either. Uh, I have
Hmm.
played with it before many times, but it has a lot of potential. So
Yeah, I can see that.
maybe as I get better, maybe I can show you more stuff we can do with this. Eventually, we want to create like a procedural rock and do some fun projects here,
Hmm.
more applicable to what you want to create. Now, with
Hmm.
at first we are just looking at the surface. We have looked in the like the very basic introduction of Houdini. What are points? The nodes, the basic nodes. We have checked how to
Hmm.
spawn points. We can then combine all those knowledge to create something like really good. We can spawn points based on normals. We know how to do that. We know how to apply noises. So we can do a lot of things now.
Yep.
Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for joining us. If you have
Thank
any
you.
question, any comment, comment below. Anything you want to learn? We maybe
Yeah,
make
any
a video.
topic. Mhm.
Yeah, anything.
Thank you for joining us today.
All right. Bye bye.